Okay, coming off a tough road loss against a very quality opponent. Looking back on the game, I thought third quarter, right in the middle of it, we were right in the game and had a chance right there. It got away from us on a couple different things. When I look back, three of our 6-team captains, I know Ricky Barber tried to go a little bit, but we didn't play without Alec Holler. We didn't play with John Rice. We played with our backup quarterback the first time he's been on the road. So when you consider all things, I'm looking at this thing. Everything's correctable. Our run defense, we had some breakdowns. We had some misalignments. All those are correctable. Offensively, protecting the football, especially the interception right before half right there. We had momentum and everything, and they're all correctable. So, that's my job as the head coach to get those things correctable. I really feel like we got a good team, or the makings of a good team, and looking forward to playing this game. You look at Baylor, they won this league 2 years ago. They have an outstanding head coach in Dave Aranda, which I've went against numerous times, know him well. He's really good at what he does. They've got good players. I know they've got off to a tough start, but when you look, they played two of the top teams in the country. Utah really had a chance to win, maybe should have won. And so I think that puts everything in perspective. We're going to get their best. We know that. We've got to play better than we did last week. Our guys understand that. We had a really good practice last night, a lot of positive energy. I mean, if you went to our practice, you wouldn't know that we just got off a tough loss. That says a lot about our leaders, says a lot about our players. They're focused. And I'll say this, the positive is we know kind of what we have, or some areas we need to improve on, or some areas that we have some strengths in. When you play an opponent like we did in the atmosphere on the road, everything's clear. You know exactly. That's the positive, and that's a takeaway for me, just from a head coach's standpoint. But we're extremely excited to host our first Big 12 game against Baylor, and looking forward to playing them. Questions?
Which of a learning experience was Kansas State for Timmy McLean, just facing a really stout defense, and he made some plays, but some of the decisions he made he shouldn't have made. So how important was the other night?
The thing about it, he processed and he knows, and that his first really rodeo in 2 years, and that was a real atmosphere. I mean, I think back at the atmosphere since I've been here, that was probably the best. I mean, we played in the Gasparilla Bowl, but it was, just as many fans as other team. So it was a learning lesson for him. There's no doubt. He understands exactly the things that he made the mistakes on. He's committed to not making the same mistakes. It's very important to him. That's really, really a big thing, and I know he'll improve, next time that presents itself.
Gus, you talked about the positive energy, coming into practice, after the loss. What does that say about this team and as you guys move forward, coming off, this loss?
Yeah, first of all, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me from the standpoint of just knowing how close our team is. We've not had any drama. I mean, and we strained them big time in camp to set up for this. So it doesn't surprise me, but it's always encouraging that when you go through something like that, then reality hits, because that's when you really feel like, or you understand what type of team you have when you have some adversity and you come off your first loss. And but it was very encouraging, but not surprising to me. We got some real leaders, and we got a really good group of guys.
We've made a big deal about playing that first Big 12 game. You mentioned it a little bit, but how much of a level up did you realize it was now that you've played that first Big 12 game? How important is that experience of just getting that first one under your belt?
I think, like I said, it's now we know everything's clear. When you play a really good opponent, your deficiencies are magnified, or your strengths are even magnified. So that was really good from a coach's standpoint, really in all three phases. I met with all three groups and coaching staff. We talked about, everything, plan moving forward. And I think we'll have a good plan, in all three phases moving forward.
After the game, you talked about your team needing to run the ball better. Why do you think the team didn't run as effectively, especially in the second half?
Yeah, there's a couple different things. When we got behind, that was a completely different deal, and I think that had something to do with it when we got down by more than one score and started, having to drop back every time. But, bottom line is for us to be effective, we've got to be effective running the football. It doesn't matter who we're playing. We're a run, play, action team, and when you look at the stats, like I said after the game, that's what kind of hurt me more than anything. The 280-some yards to 140. I mean, we take great pride in that, and hats off to them. I mean, they got after us, and they had a lot to do with that.
You had mentioned, you got the Big 12 road opener out of the way. Now it's the home opener. Just what's going to be like to showcase the Bounce House UCF for the first time as a Big 12 team against a Big 12 opponent on Saturday?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of the better venues to play football in, and I think the whole conference, when they come through, they'll figure that out. I mean, it's a great environment. I've been just about everywhere, and I'll put this environment up against any.
You mentioned that some of your captains weren't able to play. Alec Holler, and I think he played some of the Villanova game after suffering the injury. So what caused him to miss the game, and what's his status going forward?
Probably adrenaline was taking over to finish the game, but we got to Thursday and it didn't look real good, and we say we'll see how things are in pregame, and they just weren't great. And he's a tough guy. Ricky, we held him out last week, and then he played sparingly, and just we pulled him. So you're talking about three of our best players, three of our captains. You go on the road against the defending champs, and you got your backup quarterback, which they played their starting quarterback. I know there was a lot of question, but he played really good. Matter of fact, he ran really good. So they were pretty much full strength, I would say, and are close to it, and we weren't. But hopefully we'll get our guys back, and we'll go from there.
Coach, obviously, as the year goes on, all parts of the team are continuing to build and things like that, but particularly the offensive line got that first Big 12 test there on the road. How do you feel about how quickly they've melded together, and what are you going to build on to host the Bounce House here?
Yeah, we've got to figure it. We got to get to a point where we have the same five every week, and we hadn't had that one time. And I don't know if that's ever happened in my career. So they did good. A pretty solid job in the run block, and when it was pass and we had to pass, we didn't do a great job protecting. We have to get better in those scenarios. I know Timmy was running around like a chicken with his head cut off sometimes, but in his defense, I mean, they were rushing three and they got to us, and so we've got to do a better job the next time that situation presents itself.
Coach, in your experience, what are some things you can do to get better at tackling? Is that just a mindset? Is it more like a circuit? Is it more just reps during practice? What are some things you can do?
Yeah, in practice, obviously, you do tackling drills, but there was a lot of alignment issues that when you've got your proper alignment, the defense is taught with fits. When you get out in space against really good people, that's really tough, okay? But we got to do a better job of just getting lined up. Simple football, get our fits down, and that had a lot to do with it. And then when you get really good backs in the second level, it's a little bit of a tough task to tackle really, really well. But, we'll get better as the season goes. There's no doubt about that. We'll spend quality time in practice doing that too.
The alignment, was it something that Kansas State did, or was it just like getting the play in a bit quicker?
No, we did. We didn't do a real good job getting lined up to certain things. We'll do better moving forward.
Baylor's been dealing with quarterback injury issues just like you guys are. Blake Shapen, I think they said maybe this is the first week he could possibly return. I don't know if that's definitive yet, their starting quarterback, but just what do you know about the Baylor offense? And I know they haven't been playing at full strength either.
Yeah, Jeff Grimes, I know Jeff real well. He was with me. We won the national championship in 2010 with Cam. He's our offensive line coach. He's really good. Really good coordinator, really good coach. He presents a lot of different challenges. We'll see who plays quarterback. Last week, same kind of deal, and the starter shows up. So we just got to be prepared to be ready for whoever plays quarterback. But he's a really good offensive coach, and we're going to have to do a good job defensively.
Heading into the game last week, you said you were really impressed by the physicality of Kansas State. How would you grade the team's physicality in that game, and how do you get them to stay aggressive going into the next game?
Yeah, they were physical. Hats off to them. We knew they were. We weren't physical enough at times, and that's something we're going to have to get better at. And they rushed for 280 yards, and we rushed for 143. I think that tells the tale, so we'll have to get better in that area.
How is John Rice progressing? Is he trending in the right direction?
Yes, yeah, he is. He is getting better. I do think that he is ahead of schedule from what they originally told me. We'll see. I said a couple of weeks ago that it'll be a few weeks. I still think that is true. I'm not ready to tell you, oh, he's up to play this. I'm not ready to do that. But hopefully in the near future, we'll get him back.
Like last week, you've got 2 quarterbacks to potentially prepare for. So what goes into scheming against both different skill sets, and how much time is invested in that?
Yeah, I think this week's going to be more about just us making sure that we get the things cleaned up that we need to get cleaned up, and then whoever plays quarterback will adjust as we go. From a coach's standpoint, you have different calls for different types of quarterbacks, but it'll be more big picture, getting things cleaned up this week.
I know. Coming out of last year, a lot of the focus was on finishing games, especially in the fourth quarter, getting the chance to play a close game in the second half on the road. What did you learn about the team and how they'll respond, and what do you want to see from them the next time you guys?
Well, they kept fighting. I think everybody saw our guys played hard, and I told them yesterday, I'm so proud of them. They played hard. We got to clean up the penalties. The key sequence of the game is when it was 4th and 2.5. We chose not to go for it, and we pinned them back. And they drove the field and scored a touchdown, and we had 30 yards worth of penalties. So, that's really what stands out to me. Make people earn it. They're good enough by themselves, and that was a key sequence in the game.
After the game, you were asked about the measure of your team against a Big 12 foe. Did you see a talent gap and differential between these two teams?
No, we got talent. We got talent, and I think we can play with really anybody in the country talent-wise. We'll continue to improve. Our goal is to improve each week, and y'all saw it firsthand. We know it, our deficiencies and where we fell short. They're all correctable. I really think we got a good team. Matter of fact, I know we got a good team, and our players feel the same way. And so, in a way, it was a tough loss, but in the big picture, I'm encouraged because I know exactly we got the makings of a good football team. So that's the positive takeaway. After you play the defending champs on their home field.
Talk about Kansas State was a very physical team. Where does that come from? Is that strength and conditioning of experienced players, older players? What goes into that?
It's all the above. It's a mindset. It's a personality of who you are, and I've always taken great pride on our teams being physical. And so it was good. It was good for us to play a team like that, and we'll learn from it.
You talked about, going back to John Rice, Palmer, you talked about he's progressing better. So there's likelihood that he will be back this year at some point?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not. I'll be shocked if he's not back, and hopefully sooner rather than later. Like I said, I'm just not ready to say, hey, he's got a chance to play this week. I'm not saying that. But I do think he'll be back sooner than we originally thought if he keeps progressing like he has been.
Is there any, if something were to happen, I'm not trying to be, but is there thought of a medical red shirt if maybe to come back?
Right now, he's planning on coming back and playing. Okay. We've not had any conversations of anything like that.
Okay. And how has he done with working with Timmy as a kind of a coach on the side?
Yeah, he's in every meeting. On the road, he's sitting right beside him and talking through every rep of practice. When our twos are out there, he's back there behind them. He's doing everything he can to help Timmy, and it's been a really good thing for Timmy.
Coach, you mentioned positive energy in the locker room right now in a practice last night. With this first Big 12 home game for this program, how excited are the guys in the locker room right now? Yeah,
they're real excited. They're real excited to be back home. First Big 12 home game against 2 years ago the champion of this league. So they're real excited.
Coach, can you talk about how proud you are of guys like Kobe Hudson, Johnny Richardson, Nakai Martinez, just taking that next step from where they were and where they're going, and how much they'll help this team down this late stretch?
Yeah. There's a handful of guys you just said, and there's even some more that have really raised their level from where they were last year, and that's what you got to do, and that's what all the good ones do, and that's how we'll get better. It's that you got each week you got to find a way to improve in college football. It's so hard to do. It's easy to talk about. But at the first year, you always see these so-called hot teams, and they just they lose momentum. then you see a few that may be under the radar that gradually find a way at the end to keep improving. That's our challenge. Like, that's the group we need to be. And that's a group I think we can be. Matter of fact, I know we can be. But we gotta go to work and gotta clean some things up.
You mentioned the cracks in the run defense are easily correctable. When you watch the film and the guys watched it, what kind of things did they see or can you guys do to make that fixable in a hurry?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, a lot of it was alignment. So I know that sounds simple, but that's really what a lot of it was.
Last night, you said you guys had a great practice. How would you grade during the game how Timmy responded to some of those issues that he had on the field? Was he able to bounce back right away, or was he mentally kind of getting shaken up a bit?
I think that was his first rodeo on the road with us. I mean, he was trying his best to fight off what happened before and go on to the next play. And that's just part of being a quarterback. And, I really believe that's the toughest position probably in any sport is your quarterback. The higher level you go up, the more important the quarterback is. And I thought he did some good things. And I'll say this, in his defense, we got to be better around him in some things too now. Okay, there was a couple times that we had some protection breakdown, people were in his face. And so I know it all looks like there was probably 3 plays that he takes away from that game, like we can't ever do that again type deal. And I really believe he won't. But we got to be better around him. And, anytime your backup quarterback comes in, that's what I told our team, everybody has to raise their level. He's still learning. He's still growing. I'll take you back to John Rice, game 2 or 3, Louisville. So we got to be really, really good around him because he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's got a really good skill set. He probably throws that deep ball as good as anybody I've had. I mean, he's a natural. So there's a lot of really positive things you take away that we knew he was going to make some mistakes. I mean, that's natural. But we got to be really good around him.
Coach, in a similar vein, what kind of a learning experience would the defensive front have, right? Got 165 yards in non-receiver catches in yards there. What can they kind of learn to pick up as they play Baylor next week and somebody else who have a set of athletes?
Yeah,
like
I think it's everyone. It's the whole deal. It is alignment, players, it's possible calls. I mean, we just got to do a better job with everything. And we got to create turnovers. I think we had 1 turnover, but really that was because the corner made a really, really good play on a ball right there. So we didn't get after the quarterback last week. I think we hit him 2 times, and I think 2 of those were zero. We hit him 3 times. 2 of them were zero blitz, and then the other one they got a 15-yard penalty. So we didn't disrupt the quarterback, and that had a lot to do with not getting but 1 turnover, and that had a lot to do with them being able to run the football successfully, and it made it tough on us.
Coach, you and the staff have been crushing on the recruiting trail, got a strong 2024, 2025 class. How important is it for you to make that on-field performance match what you've done off the field in the recruiting practice?
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. There's no doubt it goes hand in hand. And, I really believe we're one of the programs on the rise. I know recruits feel that way. I feel that way. But at the same time, you got to get it down on the field. And our guys are committed to that. And like I said, I really feel like we got a good team. Matter of fact, I think we got a really good team. So that was a learning experience. I've had losses early in years before and had teams that really finished strong, and I really believe that this team has the makings to do that.
A little bit more on your relationship with Dave Aranda. I know you've gone toe-to-toe with him, Auburn and LSU, where he was before. What makes him a good coach, and were there any memorable games that you remember facing?
Yeah, I think he was at Utah State back in the day. We played, and I was at Auburn. He was at Wisconsin. We played him in a bowl game. I don't know how long he was at LSU. We went together 4 or 5 years, but we knew each other well. He's really good, a really good coach. I got a lot of respect for him. Then Jeff Grimes, and like I said, I got a lot of respect for Jeff too. So that's 2 really good football coaches.
How's Boomer feeling after a miss? Obviously, it's not something he's familiar with, but how did everybody respond kind of to a missed field goal? It
was 52 yards. So, credit, I don't know, man. You can turn on the NFL. Them dudes ain't making every field goal. He finally missed one in 2 years. So I pat him on the back, so we'll get him next time. So. All right.
Sorry, Gus. One quick question. On the recruiting standpoint, one of those touchdowns was an Orlando to Orlando touchdown, Timmy to R.J. Harvey. I know it, and when it actually happened, you didn't realize Orlando. But is it cool to see Central Florida recruiting make an impact on a singular play like that?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, when I first was hired, the goal in recruiting was to keep our top players home. That's how we're building it. And you'll see more and more of that. And how it works is top players that can go anywhere, that choose to stay home, and then they get on the field and have success, it just steamrolls everything else. So that's really a big piece. You're going to see more and more of that. There's a lot of these hometown heroes that are playing really, really well. They're just not scoring touchdowns. But you can reach your goals and dreams here. I really believe we're one of the programs of the future. It's a really good time to be the coach here and recruit.
Thanks, guys.